everyone, it is Erin Payne and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I got a haircut. I'm sporting the wavy bob mom chop right now. It was really just a whim I had. My hair doesn't grow super fast, but I cut it a while ago and I wanted to cut it to this length, but I kind of chickened out. I had a friend of mine warn me about not getting the mom chop while I was pregnant because sometimes we can get a little, you know, pudge in the face when you're pregnant, but I don't care. Bring on the pudgy face. I'm loving the mom chop. Today is a really fun video. I actually wanted to jump on here and just talk to you guys about how I knew I was pregnant. My early first pregnancy signs and symptoms that I noticed that led me to inevitably take that pregnancy test and find out I was pregnant. I found so many of these videos helpful when I was thinking about starting to try and become pregnant with my husband. And honestly, it was just so good to see what kind of symptoms women had. That way I knew what to look for. And watching all those videos, it really led me to realize that everyone is different. Everybody's pregnancy is different. Everybody's body is different. And I've noticed some differences in my early pregnancy that I thought I would share with you guys. That way, if you are trying to get pregnant and maybe you are curious about what some of those early signs can be, this can help you out. Now, I actually filmed this video back before we even announced our pregnancy back, gosh, I don't even know when, probably in the middle of my first trimester. And I was watching the video back trying to edit it. And I was like, wow, who is this zombie person? Because man, was the fatigue real in the first trimester. I'm actually 15 weeks pregnant now. Here's a little belly shot. It really just started to show recently, but it is my first pregnancy. So anyways, I decided to film this again just because I was such a zombie in that one. And yeah, it was honestly awful to watch. I just was like, who is this zombie? I cannot watch this. So hopefully you find this video helpful or informative in some way. Grab yourself a drink. I went and got a cafe mocha from Starbucks. I looked it up. It's less than 100 milligrams of caffeine, which I think you're only supposed to have like 200. Some websites say 300 and some say 400. I don't know. My doctor said a tall coffee from Starbucks was fine. So I have one of these every once in a while when I want a sweet little treat, which today I did. So grab a drink, find a comfy corner of your house, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and click the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I'm gonna have lots more pregnancy updates, and I also film about me and my husband's life here in Florida, and just bringing you all on my journey. So I have my little journal here, my pregnancy journal. So if you see me holding this up or reading from this, that is what I'm looking at. But first I'm gonna talk to you guys about our conception journey, just to give you guys a reference point of where my head was at when I took my pregnancy test. And then I'm gonna go into my initial pregnancy symptoms. And so like week 4 and week 5, because a lot of women find out week 5 that they're pregnant. So I'm gonna go over those 2 weeks of symptoms. That way you can kind of have a whole picture. So first off, our conception journey. So before we even thought about getting pregnant, I had the Nexaplon birth control implant. I don't know what they call it, but it's basically like a little matchstick that they inject into your arm, and then you don't have to worry about taking a pill or anything. It's good for like 3 or 5 years. It used to be 3, now I'm pretty sure it's 5. There are lots of pros and cons with that. It is a hormonal form of birth control, so some people are into that, some people aren't. I like that I didn't have to worry about taking a pill. I just put it in once and didn't have to worry about it for a few years. What I didn't like about it, and this can be different for everybody, but for me, it made my periods super, super irregular. Like I wouldn't get a period for 3 months and then I would spot for an entire month. So that was kind of frustrating. Having this on my arm, it really got rid of most of my PMS symptoms. So I was never really too crampy or anything like that that came with a period. So I do think that's important to note, because if you are trying to get pregnant and trying to see what those early pregnancy signs might be, it's important to know what your PMS symptoms could be. That way you see what's different. But I'm just noting this because when I did start getting some symptoms, I wasn't sure if these were normal PMS symptoms or if they were pregnancy symptoms. But I think a lot of those early pregnancy symptoms can mirror PMS symptoms. So anyway, I got this taken out of my arm in mid-September of 2020. My husband Austin and I were thinking about starting to get pregnant, and this was coming up on its expiration date anyway, so we decided to remove it. So the first month after being off birth control, Austin and I didn't really try and get pregnant. I had some back x-rays that I had to get done because I have scoliosis and I wanted to talk to a doctor about my back because I haven't in a long time. And meanwhile, I started tracking my basal body temperature on a little app. What was it called? I think I used the Flow app. Let me see. Yes, Flow, F-L-O. And I really like that app if you're looking for a period tracker or ovulation tracker like that. So I started tracking my basal body temperature, which if you do not know, it's just when you take your temperature first thing in the morning, before you get out of bed, before you go to the bathroom, before you get a drink of water, anything, you take your temperature and you can record it in this app, and it will start to sort of track what your temperature is doing. And this can also be a good way to track your ovulation, and it'll tell you when you are ovulating and when your peak times to have sex are, or if you're trying to not get pregnant to not have sex. So the more regular your period is, the better this app is at predicting something like that. But I just thought I would start right after I got off hormonal birth control and see what we would do with that. Austin and I also got ovulation test strips, but we thought we would just, start tracking the basal body temperature and see if we could predict my ovulation and peak fertility with that. So that was the first month after coming off birth control. So that first month, my cycle was 23 days long. So the first day of my last period and then the first day of my next period was 23 days. So that's kind of a short cycle. And my period was only 3 days long. And so we knew my body would take some time to sort of maybe get used to being off birth control. I have heard of many women getting pregnant right out the gate the first month after coming off birth control. So I did know that was possible, but I think my body was just trying to get back into the swing of things. And then right after that 3-day period, I was actually admitted to the hospital for a few days. Long story short, Austin and I were trying to get some life insurance, just doing some life planning before we decided to have kids. And something came up weird on the blood test for that. And so I talked to my doctor. She told me to get some more blood tests done. And then she called me a couple days later and told me that I had critically low levels of sodium in my blood. So she told me I needed to go to the emergency room immediately. Apparently it was that dire. And I immediately had a panic attack and had to call 911 because I've never had a panic attack and I thought I was having a heart attack. So showed up to the hospital in style and had to be there for a few days. But basically I sustained a pretty traumatic brain injury a few years ago, so they think it has something to do with that, and my body just doesn't know how to regulate its sodium levels well now. So they have me on medication. Basically I just have to take salt pills, and it's just something I have to deal with, and now I don't get headaches anymore, so that's nice. But anyways, I was in the hospital for a few days, and those few days I was in the hospital was during my peak fertility window according to the Flow app and according to my basal body temperature. So we missed our peak ovulation fertility window, and so then we just went on our ways that month, not really trying because we missed our window. And then based on my temperature, the app all of a sudden starts telling me that my predicted period, because it predicts when your period's gonna start, it told me that it was going to actually start a week later than it was previously predicting. So remember how my cycle before was only 23 days? Now it was saying I was gonna have more of a normal cycle based on my temperature. And with that, it also moved my ovulation window. So now it was saying that we were actually together during my new ovulation window, according to this app. So I was thinking, I guess I could be pregnant this month. So near the end of October, I really started to notice some different things going on with my body, and I really started to experience those first pregnancy symptoms, which is what I want to talk to you guys about. So this would have been week 4 of my pregnancy, because little did I know before I became pregnant that they start your pregnancy clock the first day of your last period before you get pregnant. So technically there's like 2 weeks where you haven't even conceived yet, but they consider you pregnant. Anyways, so this would be week 4 of my pregnancy. And this is when I started to feel those initial symptoms. So week 4 of pregnancy, my first symptoms. Very first thing I started to notice was sore breasts. So like I said, I didn't know what my normal PMS symptoms were. So I wasn't sure what this was, but my breasts were so sore. I couldn't even wear a bra. Like they hurt so bad. I remember that was the first thing I told Austin. I was like, my boobs are sore. What is this about? I can't even wear a sports bra. It was awful. And the second symptom that I really noticed was my heightened smell. So I remember so vividly going outside and it smelled like freshly cut grass, or just like when you go deep into like a humid forest or something. It smelled like that just in our backyard, and nobody was cutting their grass. So I knew something was weird, and I told Austin, I was like, come outside. It smells like, doesn't it smell like outside, like really outside? And he's like, it smells like our backyard. So that was something I noticed right off the bat. Or sometimes I would go by the fridge and I'd be like, oh, something smells bad in the fridge. And Austin would be like, it's just an onion. So little things like that. So after week 4, right on Halloween, I decided to take a pregnancy test. One, because of those symptoms. I was like, I really, really think I am pregnant. I also wanted to take a test just because it was Halloween, and if I wanted to enjoy an adult beverage that evening, I wanted to know if I was pregnant or not, but I basically decided that I wasn't going to drink anyways because I was convinced I was pregnant, and if the test came back negative, I was convinced that it was just because it was too early in my cycle. But I decided to take the test, and if you've watched that video already, here, I'll link it up. Wait, somewhere. Go watch that video. You can see me and my husband's reaction. But I took a first response test, and that's that it can test a few days earlier. So according to my previous cycle, that was only 23 days long, I would have been considered late already for my period. And for my new cycle, I still should have been in that window to detect it with the pregnancy test. So I was pretty sure it was going to be accurate anyways. So I took that test, found out I was pregnant. Austin and I were so happy. Definitely go watch that video. And then right after that, week 5 in my pregnancy, things started to really pick up for me. And a lot of symptoms started happening right off the bat, which is why I want to talk to you guys about my week 5 pregnancy symptoms also, because I know a lot of women wait till after that missed period, or some women's cycles just aren't very regular, so they might be waiting till after that week to take the pregnancy test. So these were my week 5 symptoms. So right after I took the test, literally that night, I had the worst stomach cramping of my life. And like I said before, I didn't really get PMS cramping, so maybe this is what all women feel, but it was awful. It kept me up all night, and I read something about implantation cramping, which is supposed to occur around the same time you would have got your period. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but I read that it'll really only happen for like 1 or 2 days, and it happened for a few weeks for me. I would have intermittent just like cramping throughout the day. I would feel just really tight in my stomach and things would just cramp up. And honestly, that was the worst symptom. That was awful. I had no idea. I talked to a few women and most people said Take a breath, Erin. Oh my God, I feel out of breath. Most women I talked to who had been pregnant before said that they didn't experience that kind of cramping, but a couple people did. So just know that that is a possibility. And the only reason why I wasn't freaking out about all the cramping was I didn't have any bleeding at all, but I know spotting during implantation is normal. So the second symptom that really hit me hard in week 5 is the fatigue. Now, I have never been the kind of person who can really nap during the day. I've always had kind of like bad insomnia. I'm not really good at shutting my brain off. So during the day, there's just no way I am usually able to take naps. But starting week 5, I was taking, you guys, like 3-hour long naps from like, I would sleep from 2 to 5. Austin would come home from work and I would be asleep. So the napping was real. Right when I became pregnant, I immediately bloated in my tummy, and I'm not ever the person that would ever really bloat during my period, so that was really strange to me. And that bloating actually went down, and I remember, because I took a lot of pictures and I was like, am I still pregnant? Because I went from bloating and like I was excited that my belly was starting to grow really fast, and then all of a sudden it just... Another sign in week 5 was my boobs immediately started to grow. My boobs, even now, they go through these little like growth spurts, I feel like, where they'll be sore and then the next day I'm like, they're bigger. Even during week 5, they plumped up to, like, normally I wear a B cup, but I was like a healthy B cup at that point. Like, I can actually push my boobs together now. I'm very excited about it, actually. Another big one that hit me hard right out the gate at week 5 was the mild constant nausea. So I'm talking like I felt hungover just kind of all day long. That's what it felt like, where you just feel lethargic and tired, and you know, you just don't feel like doing anything, and you feel just really out of it, and just the thought of eating anything makes you want to vomit. That's what it felt like. Another symptom and change for me was, and I know a lot of women don't really feel this in the first trimester so much, but I became ravenously hungry immediately. It was more so if I didn't eat enough during the day before I went to bed, I would then be like starving all of a sudden. So I basically would have to like eat dinner at 5 or 6, and then I would have to eat dinner again at like right before we went to bed. So Austin and I would always call it first dinner and second dinner. And we still have first dinner and second dinner, but I also have first lunch and second lunch now also. Now, the last thing that I really noticed right off the bat was my body kind of felt like it wasn't able to regulate its temperature, which it's never really been good at before anyways, but this was worse. Like it would be 74 degrees in the house, which is what we usually keep it at, and I would be freezing cold, and I would have to put on like 3 layers of clothes. And then at night, I would have these crazy night sweats. So that was something that was very strange to me, because I normally sleep very cold, and I was all of a sudden waking up in a pool of slime. So that is about it. Those were my first pregnancy signs and symptoms that I noticed. So right off the bat, sore breasts, heightened smell, and then really shortly after that, cramping, fatigue, mild constant nausea, bloating, my boobies grew, the hunger, and the horrible, horrible body temperature regulation. Those were all my first signs. If you want to hear more of my first trimester pregnancy symptoms, I am going to be making more of a wrap up of my first trimester in its entirety, and I'll probably be doing that for each of my trimesters, and I might even make a video of what kinds of things got me through all those awful first trimester symptoms. So if you want to see that kind of video, please let me know in the comments. We also know the gender of the baby now, so we are definitely going to be making a little gender reveal video. I actually made cupcakes and filled the center with colored icing, and I brought those to our parents to surprise them with what the gender was. We didn't have a gender reveal party because of COVID, and you know, everyone's getting all lackadaisical with that now. So my parents are vaccinated, but Austin and I are not yet, and just looking out for little soybean. So expect that gender reveal video soon also. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of those videos. And if you're more interested in keeping up with me day to day, definitely follow me on Instagram at HeyErinPayne. Okay, that is about it for this video. Please let me know in the comments below what your first pregnancy symptoms were, so that everyone can learn. I find it so interesting that every woman is so different during their pregnancy. I think it is incredible what our bodies can do and what they go through, and I would love to know. So please let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.